Disclosure now dropping their third studio album, Energy. Guy and Howard Lawrence back on the ones and twos, the bass and the drums, doing what they got to do to pump this out. And we talked about them just a little while ago. They released I believe it was a 5 or 6 song EP earlier in the year. Ecstasy, which we really liked some of the tracks off that, and I think we were expecting the eclectic sound in those songs, really bringing in a lot of other influences to kind of come to fruition on the full-length album Energy. And they released a deluxe album, Dave, so they didn't release it after the fact. They're just like, here's all the tracks, although I'm sure we'll get a deluxe eventually.
But that's the thing about this deluxe, though. It's a fake deluxe. It's just the entire Ecstasy EP and some previously released songs, like his Monster Smash Talk with Khalid. It's like a fake deluxe. There's no actual bonus tracks.
No, but it runs an hour and 22. So
it's annoying that like the standard issue wasn't actually on digital streaming services. You only have the deluxe option. That's a little pretentious to me, but that's probably a label decision.
And this actually feels a lot to me like a dual album or a double album, because I think the first half up until about Thinking About You interlude, so where the track right after Energy is where I would have cut this album off.
Yeah,
I would have been like, save the rest. The first half of this is freaking fire. In the second half, really lulls me to sleep. That hurts me to say because we're cutting off a song with Kalani and Sid that I think could have fit really well on either one of their albums, but just felt sleepy for this album. But that first half, man, the first 4 songs, I would say, or even the first 5, really, really strong. How are you feeling about Disclosure's Energy?
Yeah, feeling very similar because the energy is very high in the beginning and less so at the end. And then if you listen to Deluxe, it kind of comes back when you start listening to the Ecstasy EP again. Like Tondo, just the drums in that song are insane. That's a clear highlight of the EP. But in the beginning, definitely continues what we were seeing and perhaps predicting following Ecstasy. Disclosure is a duo that are not afraid to change who they are, what they sound like. They actually gave I think a really blunt quote to NME where they said, yes, some people just want us to make Latch all the time or over and over again, however they said it. And we might lose fans along the way, but we don't want to do that. And I think they did a lot of reckoning following Caracol, which I think had a mixed reception as an album, but certainly had huge highlights still. And they've evolved as producers, which is exciting to me still, because as we've said a lot, most electronic producers that are, artists first, producers second, they're not that interesting, right? We talked about the Kygo's and the Marshmallows in the sense that there's not a whole lot to talk about, Yet Disclosure has found a way to stay relevant and stay engaging, and I think still keep a fan base beyond like hardcore EDM fans because they're willing to change it up. And you listen to Energy and you hear a song like Dua Mali Mali featuring a Mali singer, and the African pop influence, that's really cool. Haven't really heard him do a whole lot of that besides a little bit on Ecstasy in March, that's awesome. Then you hear a song before that, My High, with Amine and Slow Tie. You're like, oh wait, this is like fucking hip house. This is really cool too. And then how about the first track, Watch Your Step, featuring Kellis? That shit fucking goes, dude. Are you kidding me? That shit's so fucking hot.
It's so good. Yeah, honestly, Watch Your Step, Lavender to My High is like maybe the best 3-song run we've had in months. Like, just it's crazy. Chanel Trace on Lavender, the way he just like growls over that beat, it's so sexual and like rousing. It's like crazy, man. It's nuts. I was just like really blown away. And even Energy, the Energy is like the track that the people who don't really like to dive deep into electronic or house music but like want to have a bop are like, okay, this is perfect. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, the beat drops, you can hop around at a festival, it's late, it's fine. But but like you said, when they start to really play with these influences and infuse their music with these different artists, I mean, even if you just look at who they were working with on Caracal, I mean, The Weeknd, Sam Smith,
Lord.
Lord, Miguel. I mean, like these weren't like these were artists that a lot of people knew, and there's a couple of big names on this, but I feel like we're like the standouts, like you said, are from people that we aren't super familiar with because it feels like Disclosure is inspired a little bit more working with them, whereas you bring in someone like Common, and that track falls completely short. Or
Oh yeah.
Know Your Worth with Khalid, I think also
Yep.
fell really
They did not
short.
make Talk 2.0 with that one, no doubt.
No, and even these songs with Sid for the most part. I mean, Birthday is all right, but like I said, I feel like it just doesn't fit for this. And Sid is such a interesting singer. She has a really sultry voice and just a really cool background that I think could have really infused these songs with a different type of energy, but just really fell flat. And I almost feel like let Disclosure just be weird, and they'll continue to make super interesting music.
Yeah.
So it's a hard album in some ways because I feel like they had so many good pieces, and then we're almost trying to like meet in the middle with those fans like you talked about that just want Latch all the time.
Right. Well, and hearing that they recorded over 200 songs for this album
Mm.
also was done and ready by the end of 2019. You just think, I mean, shit, what else is on the cutting room floor?
Right.
Because there's such range and
Mm-hmm.
variety on energy, whether it's the standard or the deluxe, that they can probably do anything. And usually it's good or at least passable. Even the stuff we don't like isn't necessarily bad. It's not just not nearly as engaging because Disclosure sets a high bar for themselves, right? I think of Guy's production on Blue World, perhaps the highlight
Mm-hmm.
of the Macklemore Postures album, Circles, right? That's
Yep.
just some really out there production that Mac happens to ride really great. Rest in peace. But like that weirdness is again like after those first 4 or 5 songs on energy, we don't get a sniff of that again, you know? And like just hearing them do just kind of like traditional house loops that is appealing to EDM fans and inoffensive to people in Macy's, but otherwise it's not that cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's just disappointing. It just feels below their talent,
Right.
you know? So I
Yeah.
mean, as they've said, they're aware of what people say about them. So by all means, do what you got to do. I mean, it was kind of interesting hearing them talk about following Caracal. They really toured hardcore, as a lot of DJs do, and then they took a full year off and kind of
Mm-hmm.
traveled and like reset. So they do seem to be in a good spot, and that's great. Obviously, think of what happened to someone like Avicii, but uh, at this point, Disclosure, I'm hoping they don't immediately go away again, given the state of the music touring business, because they're weird and
Yeah.
they can probably impress pretty easily at this point. So I'm hoping that continues.
Yeah, I guess just like my last thought, and maybe this summarizes what we're talking about more, is when you think about the artists who really dominate their sphere, that like house, disco pop sphere right now. It's Kygo and Marshmallow, like you mentioned, and Kygo really thrives off remixing old songs and adding like a more current, EDM flair. And, think about like the Whitney Houston Higher Love
Right.
remix he did that's gotten a lot of acclaim, but he's not doing anything original. Where Disclosure really thrives is when they get to be themselves and be original and explore their art, their artistry, their artistry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really disappointing. I think that they are get so much pressure to be so down the middle when where they really thrive is being left, right, wherever else they are other than down the middle. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Disclosure, Energy, check it out. Give us your thoughts.